Good evening, everyone. Tonight we'll fill you in on all the latest local headlines and groundbreaking world news.
In this week's headlines, 4 UMass basketball staff were cited in a civil lawsuit, Amherst College looks to change their mascot, and a local woman wins the lottery.
I'm John Bondarek.
And I'm Elena Jacob. You're watching UMass News Now.
The move to change the school's icon arose back in November of 2015 following a student-run demonstration for increased equality on campus. Historical evidence suggests that Lord Jeffrey Amherst was an advocate for using germ warfare to help eradicate American Indian tribes, which caused a moral dilemma for the college students. On Thursday, school officials released the 5 final mascot ideas. These ideas included the, quote, fighting poets, the mammoths, the purple and whites after the school's colors, the Valley Hawks, and finally the Wolves. The final vote will be decided by an instant runoff in which voters will order the ideas from favorite to least favorite. If one of the 5 wins a majority, it will be the next mascot. If none get the majority vote, then the votes will be dispersed until one ultimately achieves a majority vote. Voting runs until March 31st.
Last month, Northampton decided to discontinue its High Five Friday program led by the Northampton Police Department in order to improve youth perception of the police and the relationship between civilians and the department. This past week, however, Chief Jody Casper and Superintendent of Schools John Provost met to discuss a program to replace High Five Friday. The 2 officials announced on Friday that they are considering 3 options. The first is to establish a consistent liaison between the police department and the elementary schools of Northampton. The second is to develop recreational activities aimed at creating opportunities for youth engagement. And lastly, hosting a forum, or several, for parents and families in the school district to learn about a police department's role in the community. A statement released by both Casper and Provost states that, quote, the Northampton Police Department and the Northampton Public Schools share a commitment to trust building and ensuring all students feel safe at school. Chief Casper added that she and Superintendent Provost will report back to their respective staffs to invite input and feedback as the conversations are ongoing and still in preliminary stages.
Another big step in climate science for the 5-college area as Smith College released a 36-page report aimed at combating the, quote, unpredictable, highly damaging, and potentially irreversible impacts of climate change by humans, and how to move the school towards a more sustainable and climate-friendly future. According to the Daily Hampshire Gazette, the report, quote, outlines 21 recommendations across 5 areas: academic, campus programming and operations, investments and institutional change that will impact the campus, the community, and the world. And one piece of the new plan that is drawing attention is the restructuring of the finance plan. The plan includes the impact of the school's impact investing budget, which currently stands at $9.5 million to $30 million, creating divestments from fossil fuel holdings and bumping up the endowment for the College Investment Club. Among other plans, GazetteNet also reports that the school's investment club already manages and invests endowment portfolios worth more than $160,000. There was no word yet on how, if, or when these plans will be implemented.
Last week, a 35-year-old woman attempted to smuggle heroin into the Hampshire Jail and House of Corrections. In a series of encrypted phone calls between Jamie L. Smith of Wilder, Vermont, and her incarcerated boyfriend, Kevin LaPlaca, they masterminded a plan for Smith to smuggle heroin into the jail, all while authorities listened in on their conversations. According to the authorities, Smith arrived at the jail on March 11th for a 1-hour visit with her boyfriend LaPlaca, during which the couple reportedly began to argue, resulting in Smith abruptly leaving the jail. LaPlaca called her several times following the incident, insisting that she return to the corrections facility, otherwise he would be, quote, jumped. After multiple phone calls, Smith arrived again at the jail on Monday, received by state troopers and the anti-crime task force. Authorities then interviewed Smith in a private room where Smith admitted to having 10 bags worth of heroin inside her right pant leg, which appeared to be concealed inside a surgical glove. Smith, of now, is charged with possession of heroin and conspiracy to violate drug laws. She pled not guilty to both charges on Wednesday in Northampton District Court.
Right before spring break, incumbents Anthony Vitale and Lily Wallace were re-elected as the president and vice president of the UMass Amherst Student Government Association for the fall 2017 through 18 school year. Vitale and Wallace both won by an astonishing margin, capturing 2,504 of the student body votes with 4,915 total votes cast. Vitale and Wallace focused their campaign on building off their already strong knowledge of campus functions and also the reinvention of old ideas such as the reopening of the Hatch Commons, which is located in the basement of the Student Union. For a refresher on what the new vice president is looking forward to towards next year, check out our UMass News Now YouTube page for an exclusive interview with Lily, done by Devin Toll and Tyler Maxwell.
After 9 seasons as the head coach of the UMass Amherst men's basketball team, Derek Kellogg was relieved of his coaching title this past Thursday following the team's departure from the Atlantic 10 tournament. The 43-year-old Springfield native and UMass alum was the highest paid employee in Massachusetts in 2016, according to the Boston Globe, earning $1,063,678. UMass Athletic Director Ryan Bamford explained his release was financial, not personal or conduct related. He thanked Kellogg for his efforts as coach and student athlete as he wished him and his family the best in the future. As of this week, Bamford has hired new head coach Pat Kelsey from Winthrop College in South Carolina to take over.
In other UMass athletic news, recently fired University of Massachusetts men's basketball head coach Derek Kellogg, assistant coach Lou Rowe, and both current and former staff members are facing a $75,000 civil lawsuit in a Massachusetts U.S. District Court. The suit stems from an incident that occurred during a December 2013 game held in Springfield in which an unidentified victim claims that she and her child were falsely imprisoned and had their civil rights removed while speaking to assistant coach Rowe in a team office. According to Daily Collegian reporter Andrew Sear, quote, the lawsuit alleges that the victim and her son attempted to leave the room, quote, fearing Rowe's temper. However, Chapman and 3 others blocked the two from leaving. The lawsuit states that Rowe previously told the victim about the use of banned substance by team members, domestic violence by certain staff members against family members, among other issues. Sear also reports that the victim alleges that the assistant coach Rowe had previously subjected her to the domestic violence and that the victim was pregnant with Rowe's child at the time of the incident. Head coach Kellogg, however, was not present at either time of these incidents, but is being charged with covering up these incidents as to not shed a bad light on his team or staff. The victim is seeking a trial by jury and will be presided over by U.S. Magistrate Judge Catherine A. Robertson. According to the Mass Live report, UMass Athletic Director Ryan Bamford stated that there was, quote, no connection between the firing of Coach Kellogg and the civil indictment.
Paula Pelkey of Florence is one of the 2 area residents who recently won a $1 million instant ticket prize through the Massachusetts State Lottery. Pelkey purchased her winning ticket at Pride Station store in East Hampton before visiting the lottery's Braintree headquarters on Monday to claim her prize, won in the $2 million 50 times cash word $10 instant game. On Wednesday, Chicopee resident Kevin Lunardini also went to Braintree to collect a $1 million prize that he won in the lottery's new $4 million bonus cash $10 instant ticket game. Both Pelkey and Lunardini chose the cash option on their prizes and received one-time payments of $650,000 after tax. The respective agents who sold the winning tickets in East Hampton and Chicopee will each receive $10,000 bonuses for their sales of the tickets.
A Hampshire college student faced a judge in Belchertown Friday morning after allegedly assaulting multiple visiting basketball players from Central Maine Community College over ideals of cultural appropriation. On January 27th, 20-year-old Carmen Fagoria of Brooklyn, New York, had allegedly ordered players from the team to remove their braids in accordance with cultural appropriation. When the players from Central Maine refused to cooperate with Fagoria and began to leave the court, Fagoria started to fight one of them by kicking and stepping on the victim's body, then grabbing another player by the head and pushing her to the ground, all while also swearing and spurting racial slurs. The attack finally ended when the coach was able to intervene. As a result, Fagoria faced charges of disorderly conduct, assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. She is scheduled to return to East Hampshire District Court in May and has since been released from police custody on personal recognizance.
On Monday, Amherst Wire and UVC TV 19 recorded the 2nd episode of Professors in Politics right here in our studio. Jackson Cody and Brian Bowman talked with 2 political science professors about foreign policy and reproductive rights. Here are some highlights from that.
The first question I want to ask you is about Russia, a subject that's really dominated the news cycle lately, and the Trump administration's supposed ties to the Russian government. What, if anything, really concerns you most about this issue?
Well, let's step back for a second. There's a lot of stuff that people have put out. There's a lot of stuff floating around on social media. A lot of people are really just obsessed with this idea that somehow like Donald Trump is Vladimir Putin's puppet. Putin tried to do everything he could to weaken the American democratic process. This is not a rivalry between Putin and Hillary Clinton, although there's an element of that. This is not a friendship between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. This is Vladimir Putin carrying out in the United States a strategy that he has taken to France, to Germany, to Hungary, across Eastern Europe, of trying to weaken the democratic model that the West represents. And he wants to do this because the first thing that Vladimir Putin fears when he wakes up and the last thing that he fears when he goes to bed is the idea that Russia will succumb to what's called a color revolution, to this idea that somehow popular protests in Moscow and St. Petersburg and elsewhere will overthrow his regime.
So Trump recently announced his budget plan called America First. In it, he has essentially defunded 19 independent governmental agencies, most notably including the Legal Services Corporation, which is an organization that funds legal services for low-income Americans. How do you see the future for low-income Americans in getting the legal services that they need?
Well, this is kind of, it's such an irrational target. It's really stunning, actually. So Legal Services Corporation funds roughly 40% provides roughly 40% of the funding for civil legal aid. So we're not talking about criminal defense attorneys here. We're talking about the folks that represent low-income individuals, for example, survivors of domestic violence and family law and custody matters. We're really talking about the most vulnerable populations. What you're saying, you're consigning a significant portion of our whole population to having no meaningful access to their rights whatsoever.
In world news this evening, an attempted terror attack at Francis Orly Airport Saturday is posing security concerns to French citizens, thus potentially causing issues for French elections. According to The Independent, starting in January of 2015, more than 230 people have been killed in France alone due to terrorist atrocities. This number is not sitting well with current French President François Hollande and the Front National leader Marine Le Pen, who in a recent interview stated, quote, "I want the state to take charge of ensuring safety for the French." She told supporters at a campaign rally in Metz, quote, "The French will not be prosecuted by people who refuse to face up to reality." With that being said, however, since France has been placed under so many states of emergency, the government has made it normal to scrutinize potential criminals, leading to human rights concerns. This is all leading to a very large-scale dilemma for the French authorities. The Independent also reports that President Hollande says, quote, "Extreme vigilance is underway because we have been attacked and we know what the consequences can be." Mr. Hollande added, quote, "It is precisely my duty to provide the protection I owe to the French people." Saturday's attempted attack was the fourth time mission troops came under attack trying to protect French visitors and citizens.
This attempted attack wasn't the only danger to touch down in France recently. On Thursday, 2 students were wounded in a high school in southern France after a 16-year-old opened fire. The suspect, identified by Interior Ministry spokesman as Kylian Barbie, was arrested by police in the Alexis de Tocqueville school in the town of Grasse and was reportedly still armed when confronted by the authorities. The motive behind the shooting was not immediately clear, and a national police official said that authorities have no reason to suspect it was terrorism related, and there do not appear to be any other suspects. The principal of the high school and 2 other students were hit by bullets, while 5 more were treated for shock. None of the injuries were reported as life-threatening. Kylian Barbie was arrested in possession of multiple weapons after the attack. Education Minister Najat Vallaud-Belkacem said that the incident was, quote, "the crazy act of a fragile young man fascinated by firearms," after his visit to the school on Thursday. During the attack, some students hid at the school while others were evacuated. A police helicopter circled overhead in what is usually a quiet corner of France. The town is just 25 miles from the southern city of Nice, where a terror attack killed 86 people during last year's Bastille Day.
Breaking news right now into the UVC 19 newsroom. London police are calling an attack where a car was driven off a Westminster bridge through a crowd of people, and police officer was stabbed outside of the Parliament building. At least 4 people have died and 20 people have been injured, according to the BBC. UMass Amherst spokesperson Ed Blagaszewski put out a statement stating that 19 or the 23 UMass students currently studying abroad around London have checked in safely. UMass officials and the International Programs Office are actively working to check in with the remaining students. The incident is still under investigation.
And that concludes tonight's newscast. Be sure to tune in at the same time next week for all of the latest local headlines. I'm Elena Jacob.
And I'm John Bondarek. Thanks for watching UMass News Now, and have a great evening.